Welcome children to the lesson Landlords and Tenants under the British and the Nizams. During the time of the Mughal emperors, the Zamindars they collected land revenue from the peasants on the behalf of the emperor, and in return they received a share of the revenue collected, and sometimes they also had the right to collect some local taxes. They also had a small band of soldiers with horses and guns. Their houses were like small fort called Gaddi in Telangana. And the Zamindars, they often acted as intermediaries between the government and the peasants. They often represent the problem faced by the peasant to the government and at the same time also try to enforce the regulation imposed on the peasants by the government. And the Zamindars they also had their own land on which the laborers worked, and this was called their self-cultivated land or Khudkhasht land. And Zamindars have two important roles. One is to collection of the tax and owning land as landlord and collecting rent. And we find there are two kinds of peasants, those who were independent landowning cultivators paying land revenue through the Zamindar and those who were tenants of the landlords. Now, when the Britishers they gained control over India, they were keen to increase the land revenue as much as possible to finance their trade and wars. And this led to the ruin of agriculture as farmers could not cultivate land under such conditions. And soon the British realized that they need to have a system of land revenue which would also encourage agriculture. They were also keen that peasants would till more and more land and grow crops that were demand in the market, especially cash crops that were exported to England like cotton, indigo, sugarcane, wheat, etc. East India Company officials began to feel the investment in land has to be encouraged and agriculture has to be improved. So, Cornwallis, Governor General, he introduced a permanent settlement in 1793. According to it, Zamindar was given the power to collect land revenue in auctions. 90% he has to give to the government and 10% is to be retained by the Zamindar. Here, under this permanent settlement, the amount to be paid was fixed permanently, that is, it was not to be increased in future. So the Britishers they felt that this would ensure a regular flow of revenue into the company and at the same time they encouraged the Zamindars to invest and improve the land. Now let us see the result of this permanent settlement. The company officials they soon discovered that the Zamindars they were not in fact investing in the improvement of the land and the revenue was so high that the Zamindar found it very difficult to pay and who failed to pay the revenue they lost their Zamindaris. But the situation changed. In 1820 the prices of the grains in the market rose and cultivators slowly expanded. And this meant an increase in the income of the Zamindar, but no gain for the company as it could not increase the revenue demanded that they had been fixed permanently. And the Zamindars were not interested in improving the land. So under the permanent settlement, the company gave the right to collect the tax to the Zamindars and the Zamindar used to collect the tax from the peasants and they used to decide how much the peasant has to pay. And they gave their land for rent also. And the peasants were paying more tax, and the land improvement was not cared for, and it did not produce as much as the Zamindar demanded. So the farmers, we see that they have gave the land to the Zamindar. We can find over the years the Zamindars have occupied all the land. Now let us see the second system, which was started by the Britishers, and we call it as Ryotwari system. Here, the districts of Ballari, Anantapur, Kadapa, and Kurnool were seized to the Britishers by the Nizams on account of debt in maintaining the British. And Thomas Munro was appointed as a principal collector of these districts, and he commenced his work of survey and revenue settlement. He recognized the importance of peasant, and he devised Ryotwari settlements. Here, Ryot means cultivator. The Ryotwari means peasant tenure. It was decided to collect revenue from the actual cultivators or owner of the land who either worked on the land themselves or got the land cultivated by others. Under this situation, the peasant cultivating the land were identified and the fields were identified, and a survey number was given to every piece of land, fixing the legal ownership. And the yield price situation, market conditions, and the crop cultivated, it was taken into account to decide the tax per acre. And we find here Munro, he made necessary advances to the farmers to purchase seeds, implements, bullocks, and to repair old wells or dig new ones. He argued that the British government should act as a father figure protecting the farmer. This proved very effectively, and that year they saw a bumper crop and very good revenue collection. And under this, we see many development activities. Sri Atur Cotton, he built an anicut across the Godavari River at Dhauleshwaram, and it was completed in 1849. And again an anicut was built over the Krishna River at Vijayawada in 1854. And in 1857, the Kannur-Kadapa Canal was built to bring water to the dry areas of Rayalaseema. So we find here the Britishers have done lot of uh, projects for improving the irrigation. And under the small projects, they were able to build many wells and tanks. Thank you, children.